What's going on, guys? It's your boy, the Boxing Lowdown here. Very good evening to you all. This is the post-fight reaction to Josh Taylor and Taylor-Lopez. First of all, let me apologize for being a bit late. I'm about 10 minutes late. Laurie's about to join. I had some network issues, so I'm hoping that the stream will go okay tonight. But yeah, let's get it, man. We've already got people in the comments, so shout out to you guys. I'll get to those. And we'll talk about this fight, man. Before Laurie jumps on, I'll give my thoughts on it, but let's have a look who we got here. Ian Hamilton is in the building here and waiting. He's put, okay, we are back in business. Let's get started, guys. Big up my bro K22 in the building as well. He's put here, let's get it. Laurie's about to join us now, so let's literally get him in. Let's add him in right here. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm all right, man. I'm all right. Doing well.
Yeah. I've only literally just joined because there was some network issues, so I'm a bit late myself. But yeah, I'm just going through some of the comments in the chat. I'm going to give my thoughts and then I'm going to pass it over to you. Let me know what you think. Ian Hamilton, who I know you asked about earlier today, he's already here. Shout out to my guy. And yeah, let me just give my thoughts first of all on this fight last night, man. I got this very wrong. I predicted that Josh Taylor was going to win. I predicted that he was going to win emphatically. And it turned out to be the other way around. I actually thought that, to be fair, I thought Josh Taylor was on his way to would probably stop Teofimo due to the fact that Teofimo-Lopez's mental state didn't appear to be all there. Josh Taylor is, as we know, he can be quite a demon. He does show no mercy when he's in the ring. And I thought that he'd be looking to bounce back with a very good performance after last time out, even though he won against Jack Catterall. The majority of us know that it shouldn't have been a win. So I just used all of that and I thought to myself that Josh Taylor is going to come in here last night and really put in a good performance, but turned out to be the opposite. Teofimo-Lopez was absolutely brilliant, settled into his groove a lot quicker than Josh Taylor did, who struggled for me throughout. He was countering Josh Taylor at will. He had Josh Taylor going towards the end of the fight. And one thing that I noticed, and I know a few of the guys in the comments will say as well, but after the first round, Teofimo-Lopez went back to his corner and his dad asked him, how was he? And he said, yeah, I've got him. I've got him. And that was quite interesting to me because it was probably an even round, or you might have given it to Josh Taylor maybe, but it was an evenish type of round. Taylor had Lopez had a bridge on his nose, I think. So when Lopez actually said, yeah, I've got him, he then proceeded on towards in that fight to really put a beating on Josh Taylor, man. I didn't expect to see that. Harvey saying as well, he thought that Josh Taylor was going to stop Lopez. I thought that too. But yeah, I mean, I have to put my hands up. I have to say, look, shout out to Teofimo-Lopez, man. He won last night. He won very well. And it was pretty emphatic, man. He was showboating in there. He was really stunting on Josh Taylor in there, man. And I just have to give him some credit. So let me know what you think. Shout out to Dwayne B in the building. And yeah, let me get your thoughts on it as well.
Yeah, you know what? First of all, there's no shame in you saying that you got it wrong, because pretty much everybody I spoke to, all the predictions I saw was that Josh Taylor was going to win. In fact, the only person that I can think of that I saw beforehand predicting that Teo would win the fight was Jack Catterall. And you may argue that he's got reasons for doing so. You know what I mean? He's got ulterior motives for doing so. So, listen, I thought that Josh Taylor was going to win. Although I would say, and I'm not, you know, you can go back and look at our previous recordings on this when we did the DR Boxing Weekly show. Shout out to those guys. I think they're probably watching this tonight, actually. And I said on our show that we did, previewing the fight, I said, listen, man, this fight is going to be a close, well-contested fight. But I think that Josh Taylor will edge it out. Because I had reservations about Josh Taylor making the weight. His last fight before last night was 15 months ago. He looked terrible in that fight. Let's face it, he lost that fight. Even though his hand was raised, it was one of the worst decisions of the last couple of years. The only decision as bad as that I've seen that comes close to that was the Cater Taylor-Pursoon fight. So those two fights, for me, stand out as two of the biggest robberies in boxing that I've seen in recent years. So, you know, I did have my reservations, and I knew that Teo, on his day, when he's, you know what I mean, when he's got it together, he is a very good fighter. I don't like the guy. I'm going to say that straight up. You know, I've said it before, so I'm not going to try and, you know, backpedal at all. I don't like him. I don't like how he conducts himself. I don't like his dad. Don't like how he conducts himself either. But at the end of the day, it's boxing. You know what I mean? And you got to give him credit for what he did last night, man. He was really good. I mean, really good. I did say in the lead up to the fight as well that I thought that Teofimo's youth and athleticism and skill and power as well, I thought all of those factors would give Josh Taylor trouble. Added to the fact that Josh Taylor, even when he's on his A game, his defense is not one of his strong points. He does get hit. Said that before. And for a tall guy, he gives up his height. He likes to get inside. He likes to bully people. And he tried that last night, man, and it weren't working. You know what I mean? Nothing worked.
It wasn't.
I think after the first 4 rounds, I was scoring it. I think after the first rounds, I had it 2 each. But after the 5th round, man, Tio kind of took over, and I didn't give Josh Taylor another round until I think it was the 10th round. So at the max, I gave him 3, maybe 4 rounds last night. He was well beaten. Well beaten.
I think the one thing for me with Josh Taylor last night, he seemed to be forcing a lot of his work. You know, he was marching forward, wanted to assert his dominance. He was obviously the naturally bigger man, but he was pushing forward. It looked like he wanted to bully Tio, which I thought was probably the right thing to do. You know, knock the confidence out of him, so to speak. But you know, he seemed to be forcing a lot of the work, smothering, didn't create room or separation to get his punches off. And just Tio looked a lot more relaxed in there. The athleticism, I know someone else pointed out as well, but the athleticism of Taylor-Lopez was an issue. The sharpness was really catching Taylor, man. You heard the oohs and the ahs from the crowd. Like, I saw that a lot, and I was watching in disbelief, man. I was just like, wow, I really got this one wrong. Like, everyone gets them wrong, but this one was very wrong in terms of the dominance that Tio inflicted on Josh Taylor.
Oh, actually, there was one other person that got it right. James too. He's on the DR Boxing Weekly show. He got it right as well. So Jack Catterall and James too. Like I said, they're the only 2 people that I've seen or that I know before the fight that was giving Tio a chance. Even a lot of the American analysts and fighters, they were saying point blank, no, Josh Taylor, stoppage, Josh Taylor, wide points, you know what I mean? So it was a surprise, although it wasn't a shock. I wouldn't say it was a shock because I did think that on his day that Teofimo was more than capable of giving Josh Taylor problems. And like I said, Josh Taylor has not looked good now in a couple of fights, has he? Let's be honest, man. He looked terrible against Catterall. He looked dead at the weight. He looked better on the scales, didn't he, on Friday? He looked half decent on the scales. I thought, yeah, he looks like he's made the weight proper. But it's noticeable, man, that his legs didn't really look that strong after the halfway mark. So is that to do with the weight? I don't want to make excuses for him, but I'll be shocked if he stays at 140 after last night.
Well, the talk was, and he did reference it, that he was going to move up to 147. However, there is unfinished business. Big up Dan in the building, man. Good to see you here, bro. There is unfinished business at 140, obviously with Jack Catterall. So does he try and boil down to make the weight because he did look more comfortable making it? Or does he move it back up to 147? Or does he move up to 147 where the challengers are not going to get any easier? The guy's there, he loses his natural strength advantage. He's going up against bigger men who hit harder because, like I said, maybe it was the weight. I don't want to give that as an excuse for Josh Taylor, but because he even said himself he had no excuses, right? But maybe
fighters always do.
maybe it will revitalize him going up to 147. But yeah, I don't think that's that's going to be difficult too.
Yeah, it will. I mean, he was magnanimous in the immediately after the fight he was interviewed in the ring, and he was saying, "Oh, the best man won. I've got no complaints, no excuses." But listen, we all know what boxers are like. Give it a week or maybe even less, and you'll start to hear my legs didn't feel right. I need to move up in weight. I didn't feel strong. I couldn't get going. I don't know what it is. You know what boxers are like, man. It's the same. Rinse, repeat. It's the same thing. They always do it. Even when they come out and say, I'm not going to make any excuses, give it a couple of weeks, a month or whatever, they will come up with an excuse to try and tell themselves, look, I've still got it. You know what I mean? So Listen, I do, despite of what I just said there, I do think that the weight is an issue. I don't think he's performing at his optimum because it's no coincidence now in the last couple of fights he's not looked good at all, has
No.
he? It could be argued that Jack Catterall maybe didn't beat him as well as Tio beat him, but he did beat him up as well, didn't he? Let's be honest. In fact, he dropped
He dropped him, yeah.
Josh Taylor, which is something that Tio couldn't do, despite landing on him cleanly several times. And I think Jack Catterall dropped him twice. Actually, I think there was one that he wasn't given credit for. There's definitely one he got counted. So what I'm saying is his last two performances at 140 have been a bit. Well, let's be honest, man. They've been poor. If we're being brutally honest, as good as Tio was last night, and I must give him props. He boxed brilliantly. What I liked about what Tio was doing was he wasn't rushing in. He was basically waiting for Josh Taylor to make mistakes, and he was just countering. And his timing and his precision, his punch selection, you know what I mean? He looked really good, bro. I can't lie. And this is coming from somebody who is no fan of Taylor-Lopez, not the person anyway.
Yeah.
But in terms of his boxing last night, man, I would give him an A because he was brilliant. The only slight caveat is I just can't help but thinking, I'm trying not to do it, but you can't help but wondering, was he that brilliant or was Josh Taylor that bad because of the weight and other things? I don't know.
I have to, and I'll see Ian has said here, you know, he's referenced about the inactivity for Josh Taylor, but let's also remember that going into this fight, Taylor-Lopez wasn't on good form either. He looked terrible last time out against Sandor Martin. He lost to George Kambosos. So, and he had the well-documented health issues outside of the ring mentally. So going into this, you know, he was even more fragile, in my opinion, than Josh Taylor was. And he pulled out a performance like that. So, yeah, you can reference the inactivity of Josh Taylor. But, you know, I just have to give him credit for that performance, man. You know, because like you said, after the first few rounds, it wasn't like it was a blowout straight away. Taylor-Lopez just really took over after that fourth. And then, you know, it was pretty dominant.
Josh Taylor just didn't have it in his legs up to a certain point to kick on. Because, you know, in fights, that's what tends to happen. Fighters, they go through the gears. Could it be that whereas Tio was able to kick on and go through the gears, Josh Taylor wasn't? But I did think his tactics, I mean, one of the things I noticed straight away is what you were saying, Daryl, about him smothering his own work. He didn't close the distance by using the jab or good footwork. He just tended to rush in. And when you rush in and you're fighting a sharp counter-puncher who's on top of his game the way Tio was last night, you're asking for trouble. And the amount of times, like you said, he got his head snapped.
He got his head snapped back. The oohs and the ahs, man. There was a lot of that last night.
Yeah, there was. And that's when you know. And there was a couple of times in that fight as well where it's something that I've not seen with Josh Taylor before, that he actually walked back to the corner looking a bit despondent, as if to say, boy, man, what am I in? You know what I mean? What am I going to do? He actually did look like there was one round in particular. I can't remember if it was the 8th or something like that, where he trudged back. Tio did a bit of showboating, hit him with a right hand. You know what I mean? And Josh Taylor walked back to his corner, and honestly, I thought, right, is he going to check out here mentally? Because he looked a beaten man.
Yeah.
And normally, he's so mentally strong. Normally, that's one of Josh Taylor's best attributes, his mental strength. You know, he likes to put it on man, innit? You know what I mean? He's a real alpha male in that way, innit? He's a real bully type of person.
And it's not like we can say, big up my man DS in the building as well. Good to see you here, brother. But it's not like Josh Taylor is a stranger to being on the road either. So we can't put it down to that. Because
definitely wasn't that.
Yeah, so it was really just Taylor-Lopez's skill, athleticism, power. Yeah. And you know, he got to him mentally, man. That bit where he did the Billy Joe Saunders, where he looked out the ropes. And I was like, Ross, what am I watching here, man? Like,
in all the times I've been watching Josh Taylor, no one's done that to him.
Never done that to him.
He's been in with some top quality guys. I mean, even when he fought O'Hara Davis, I remember when that fight came around, there was a lot of people like Darren Barker and Spencer Oliver that were predicting that O'Hara Davis would knock Josh Taylor out. You know what I mean? At the time, that was considered a real, like, hard, difficult fight for him. And he came he made O'Hara Davis quit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And no one's done that to O'Hara since then. You know what I mean? That was you could say a prime time O'Hara Davis. And he
Mm.
absolutely bossed him, beat him up and stopped him, made him quit. You know what I mean? The fight he had with Regis Prograis, which was, you know what I mean, an absolute war. I actually thought Regis Prograis did enough to keep the belt, given that he was champion, but I didn't have no real complaints with the decision. But that's a great win, especially when you think of what Regis Prograis has gone on to do since then. And then, of course, the Baranchik still had a lot of juice when Josh Taylor beat him. He beat Victor Postal.
He's had some
He
very
beat
impressive wins.
Ramirez. Ramirez was unbeaten. A lot of people said that Ramirez would beat him. He cleaned Ramirez's clock. He knocked him down, bullied him, pushed him around. And then
What's
you
the
get
combined?
to a fight and it all goes wrong.
What's the combined record of his opponents, man? It's something like 133-0. So
Yeah,
listen, I give Josh Taylor the credit, man. His resume
that's right.
after 20 fights is very, very strong. But
Listen,
let's talk about
before the Jack Cattrall fight, I think everyone would agree that he was undisputed at 140, and with the resume that he'd managed to achieve, a lot of people, myself included, kind of had him in that pound for pound top 10.
for sure.
And now look, a lot of people I'm seeing online saying he should retire. It just goes to show boxing, man, is a funny sport.
Well, that allows me to segue into my next point because we'll talk about the winner here. After the fight, Taylor-Lopez, he conducted a few post-fight interviews outside the ring. He hinted at retirement on one of the interviews. And then he did a social media post on Instagram. I saw it today where he effectively announced his retirement. You know, he said that he's done, said that he's retiring on top. You know,
If anyone believes that,
we've been here before with regards to, you know, fighters saying they've retired. But for me, what I'll say on that is that until Taylor-Lopez officially gives away the belts that he just won, then I'll take the claim seriously. But
hang on a
you know,
minute. As he spoke, I just saw some pigs flying above there. So,
so you're not believing it then?
absolutely. So here we go. You see, this is the problem I have with this guy now. Now he's won. We're going to get the whole other stuff that comes with Taylor-Lopez and his dad.
Mm.
You know, and all the nonsense. Retire. Do you really think the guy's going to retire? He's not even at his prime yet physically. Well, we don't think so anyway, especially after last night. The amount of paydays that's out there for him, he's on top of the world in terms of what he's just achieved. How the hell is he going to retire? Yes, I know he's got a divorce thing coming up, which is obviously going to, you know, be quite taxing mentally to go through that. I've never been through that, but I know people who have, and I know it's not a nice experience. So, you know, why didn't he just say, I'm going to take a break from the ring and sort my personal life out, but I'll be back? Or even if he says, just say I've taken a break. Don't put no time on it or whatever. Just say there's one or two things I need to sort out in my personal life that need to get sorted before I take any more fights. If you just left it like that, everyone would say, cool. But
Well,
he must be careful with that because, like you said, the WBC and them, man, or what's it, the WBO bluff and say, well, okay, well, if you're retired, man, then give up the belts and Josh Taylor and Jack Cattrall can fight for him or something like that. I don't know. But he's not retiring, man. No, he's not retiring at all. Anyone who believes that, then I've got some stuff that I want to sell you, you know what I mean? Because, you know, you sound like the kind of person that would just entertain anything. So he's not retiring.
I mean, what I would say is as well is that it's well documented, you know what he's been going through outside of the ring in terms of the divorce and everything else. He's been making some silly comments as well. If
Worse than that,
it's really genuine,
more than
if
just
it really is genuine, him looking at retirement because he wants to focus on his mental health, then, you know, as a person, as a human, I'll be like, all right, fine. Because if you're not all there checked in the ring, then it's a dangerous place to be in. So if that really is the case, then by all means. But obviously, as a boxing fan, I want him to stay because I want there are some great fights to be made. He could fight Tank Davis. He could fight Devin Haney. He could fight Shakur Stevenson. He's got loads of options.
Who's the other fighter that you know in boxing currently that does exactly that same sort of thing what Tio did yesterday?
Mm.
Who's the other fighter?
Well, Diaz said it right here, Tyson Fury.
Yeah, exactly. He's there. And what do you think of Tyson Fury? This is what I'm saying about these guys, man. They're very hard to, for me anyway, to sort of grow any affinity towards because of the way they conduct themselves. I mean, you know, it's the same old Tyson Fury thing. I'm retired. Now I'm back. This, that. You know what I mean? He ducked me. This, please, man, just like, bro, stop it. You've done brilliant. You know what I mean? Just conduct yourself in the right way. If you're going to retire, then fair enough, retire. But don't be coming back then in 6 months and saying, "Oh yeah, I'm back," and you know what I mean, the takeover part 3, or you know, he's just corny. He's just corny. And,
big up my man Himanshu in the building. Sorry, carry on there.
No, I was just thinking about, like, with Josh Taylor, what does he do now? I mean, me and Shane, you know, Shane, he's always got a lot to say for himself. Shout out to Shane, that's my guy, man. Knows his shit. But Shane, me and Shane got into an argument because I was saying, listen, man, Josh Taylor is finished at 140. So Shane was going, well, what's he going to do though? I goes, well, it's obvious what he's going to do. He's going to move up to 147. He goes, no, he shouldn't move up to 147. I goes, yeah, but he's not going to stick around at 140. He's been at light welterweight since he come out the Olympics in 2012, right? That was, what, 11 years ago now? So he's been at light welterweight effectively, well, at least over 10 years. He's 32 years old. He's coming off the back of 2 career worst performances at 140. He's been saying he wants to move up. He struggles to make the weight. When he made the weight against Jack Catterall, he looked terrible. He looked emaciated. He looked gaunt. And that was definitely reflected in his performance. For this fight, on Friday when I saw him on the scales, to be fair, he looked a lot better. And he said that he'd made the weight well and done everything asked of him. But I still think, as much as I, you know, give Teofimo credit, I still don't think we're seeing the best of Josh Taylor at 140. He needs to move up to 147. Now, the problem is, at 147, man, there's some straight up killers at that weight. So who do they put him in with at 147? Because at 147, man, I mean, forget about Spence and Crawford. That's way off. But even beneath them, you know what I mean? You've got the likes of Boots, what's the other guy from the Golden Boy stable there? Virgil Ortiz, Stanionis. But then somebody said to me yesterday, what about Josh Taylor, Conor Benn? Now, that sounds like a great fight, but would Josh Taylor entertain Conor Benn? I know Conor Benn would probably want it because he needs a big fight. But yeah, he's probably going to have to go back to domestic level, European level, and then, you know, hopefully a belt becomes available at 147 and go down that route, because I still think he's a good fighter, but I'm just a little bit worried, man, because he's taken 2 beatings back to back. And not with yesterday's, it wasn't just a beating. It was quite embarrassing, really, wasn't it? The way he got beaten.
I think the way how Teofimo did it was pretty embarrassing. Maybe, I mean, some have referenced the trainer. You know, the fact that it's his first fight without Ben Davidson. What about this one here? A fight with Michael McKinson?
Yeah, that's feasible. I mean, Michael McKinson's got the British title. I did say that to 1 or 2 people, and they were saying that they doubt if Josh Taylor, having been the unified
not going to drop
world champion at 140, will drop down to British level. And let's face it, look, no disrespect to Michael McKinson, man, but he can't draw flies. So, you know what I mean? That's not really going to be a big fight. That would be Josh Taylor carrying the entire promotion on his back. I'm not sure if he'd want to do that. Would he get up for that fight? I don't think he would.
I think for me, what I'd like to see is if he can negotiate. I don't know if Catterall will be willing to, you know, if there's you know, maybe if they could negotiate the weight or something like that. You know, catch weight. I don't know. Catterall's with Matchroom now, isn't he?
Yeah. There's a lot of enmity between those two, and I don't see them making that fight. I think that ship sailed, to be honest, unless somehow Catterall's not going to move up to 147 for that fight, and Josh Taylor's not going to stay at 140 to fight Jack Catterall again, is he? Not now. I think you should have fought him before.
I mean, Josh Taylor's 32 now, so you know, how long has he been a professional for? 10 years, did you say?
Yeah, around that time. He was a 2012 Olympian, wasn't he? He was in the same Olympic team as Anthony Joshua, Luke Campbell, and them, man.
So he's I
remember watching him in the Olympics.
Undisputed. He's won the World Boxing Super Series. He's had a great career so far and only 20 fights. You know, I think that the time is right to jump up. As DS was saying, you know, a fight with Conor Benn could be something that would be entertaining. I don't think it would get made, but something like that to, you know, that'd be a great build-up. You'll get the juices flowing.
I
It needs
think
a good fight.
domestically, that's the only
He's got
one.
history with Jordinas Ugas as well. You know, maybe they might make that. That would be easy to make, but there are options, obviously, at 147 for it.
What's the history he's got with him?
Oh, you didn't hear about the sparring session where, I think they had a little interaction over Twitter about it, where I think Taylor said he dropped Ugas or something like that. I'm sure someone can reference that in the comments as well. But I'm pretty sure that there was a little spat between the two, and Taylor said he dropped Ugas in sparring. So hey,
well, maybe he did. But maybe he did, but that wouldn't mean to say that he'd automatically beat him in a fight. I mean, I've heard Rowley saying that he beat up Teofimo in sparring, and he put out some footage where he looked to be getting the better of him. But that's only that's the thing with these things. It's just little snippets, isn't it? Of sparring footage, and man put that out and say, yeah, look, I did this to this one, and I did this. It doesn't really mean much at the end of the day. In fact, it means very little. I mean, the only thing it means is when you're trying to hype up a fight or trying to get some beef going between the fighters, then somebody release a bit of footage and say, yeah, look what I did to you. I mean, remember Okoli, Billum Smith? Okoli was saying, look, man, in the sparring sessions, I got the majority of it. I got the best of him most of the time. Look what happened in the fight. He lost. Yeah.
So let's assume that Teofimo Lopez is not retired and he does stay at 140. He's got a belt.
He's retired.
He's got the lineal belt as well, the mythical lineal belt, should I say. But he does have the WBO belt, the ring belt, and he did just have a great win over Josh Taylor. So looking at the options at 140, what would you like to see him? Who would you like to see him fight next, Teo?
Well, in an ideal world, I'd like to see him try and unify the belts. Someone like Prograis, Subriel and Matthias. Who, by the way, Subriel and Matthias, don't sleep on that guy, man. He's a good fighter. Then you've got people like Tank, Devin Haney's supposed to be moving up. So there's lots of good options there. But I suspect that what they'll do with him is that when he's had this sabbatical or so-called retirement comes to an end, they'll probably try and get him a fight that's a very winnable fight. So they'll probably look down the rankings and choose somebody that's, let's face it, it's pretty beatable. And they'll go down that route before setting up a mega fight. Or he might try and unify the belts with Rowley, because that's a very winnable fight, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's if O'Hara Davis don't get to him first.
Yeah. So,
and
if O'Hara beats Rowley, which I think he's got a very, very good chance of doing. In fact, I'd actually make O'Hara Davis favourite in that fight. Then let's be honest, as much as I like O'Hara, I can't see him beating the Teofimo of yesterday anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, but he's got options, man, and there's a lot of paydays out there. So why would he even contemplate retirement? To me, again, it's the attention-seeking Teofimo Lopez, isn't it? I'm retiring. It's just nonsense, bro. Anyone who believes that, seriously, then I don't know what to say to you, because, you know what I mean? You sound like you're easy to fool, because there's absolutely no way this guy, 25 years old, and he's just been complaining that he's not been getting the paydays of some of the other guys in top rank roster, and you're going to retire off your career best win at 25 years old. Come on, bro.
Yeah, hard to believe, but I guess time will tell. Like I said, actions speak louder than words. If you give up the belt, then I'll start to take it a bit more seriously. Until then,
I give that retirement the same credence as when I saw Tyson Fury and Isaac Lowe putting out a video saying that he's retired and stuff like that. So nonsense.
Before we end it tonight, I just want to get your quick thoughts on some of the other action over the weekend. I didn't catch Sonny Edwards' fight. I don't know if you did, but AB also got back in the win column after some inactivity. Did you manage to catch any of that? Adrian Broner back in the ring, Don King show.
I saw the highlights. Well, low lights. You know what I mean? It was the less said about that, the better. Listen, Broner's not going anywhere, man. You know what I mean?
That's what I was going to say. Is he good? Could you see him making any, if he stays active, if he continues being in the ring, fighting these low-level guys, builds his confidence back, could you see him making one last run?
No, I can't, to be honest. He couldn't even get rid of that guy, Bill Hutchinson, who's an attorney, so he's only a part-time boxer. And he didn't even look that good, if I'm being honest. I mean, I didn't watch the whole fight. To be honest, I couldn't be bothered to sit through that, bro. Especially when I heard it had gone the distance, all 10 rounds. And from the highlights that I saw, it looked like he did hurt him a couple of times, but he didn't have enough juice to get the guy out of there. Now, that was a very low-level opponent. You imagine when he steps up and fights one of them real young, hungry lions. He'll get eviscerated, man. He's just a name.
What about the ring? Obviously, he's been out of the ring for 2 years, isn't he?
Yeah, but even listen, he could fight every month for the next year. He's not going anywhere, though. We all know that deep down, innit? He might fight a fringe contender eventually, but we all know what's going to happen. As soon as he steps up in class, he's not just going to get beat; he's going to get well beaten. He's done, though. He's done, and I think we all know that. You know what I mean? And that link up with Don King as well, it's just farcical, isn't it? It's just, you see them in the ring and you just think to yourself, what is this, man? What are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, it's just nonsense.
Yeah.
It's almost, to me, I was saying to somebody today, right? And I'd be interested to hear what you think. To me, Broner looks right for Misfits boxing for me. You know, you get them man there that like, the Misfits guys call him out. It would not surprise me if you see the likes of Salt Pappy and them man there, Anthony Taylor, the guy that beat. They'll start calling Broner out because he's at that level for me.
Yeah.
And I know that may sound mildly disrespectful, but I'm actually being honest. He's one step away from being a Misfits fighter. Exhibitions. He should do what Floyd and all them mans do.
Yeah,
the money would be good as well.
I don't think anyone's taking it too seriously either, to be fair. I don't think anyone's really expecting Broner to. I think it's probably for him, it's probably good that he's just staying in the gym, staying in shape.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you make a good point because if he didn't have boxing, he seems like the sort of guy that would just, his personal life would just career out of control. So boxing does give him some structure. So in that regard, fine. Let him stay out of trouble. Let him, at least when he's in the gym, he's staying healthy, hopefully, eating and drinking and, you know what I mean, and hydrating himself and not out partying, doing drink and drugs and womanizing and all that. But with Broner, though, how long is he going to stay disciplined for? I mean,
that's the question, yeah.
You know what I mean? How long is that going to last? I mean, he had that fight. I wouldn't mind betting if you see a picture of Broner next week, man, he's probably going to look bigger than my brother. You know what I mean? So, no, he's done, bro. He's done.
What about this comment here from Francisco? He says here, Hearn says that Sonny Edwards and Bam Rodriguez will be next. Good fight. Who you got?
Well, you'd have to lean towards Bam Rodriguez, but I think Edwards would give him a really good fight. I think the only problem Edwards has is that he has very little power. I mean, even last night, I saw the highlights of that fight. Apparently, it was a real snooze fest. But he well won it, but he didn't look good because he couldn't really put any holes in the guy. And if you're not doing that to guys like Campos from Chile, you're not going to do that to Bam Bam Rodriguez. And also, I don't see Bam Bam Rodriguez, unless they pay him a truckload of money, he's not going to come here, which means that Sonny Edwards is going to have to go over there in Mexico or in, if not Mexico, Texas or one of them places. And he's not going to get a decision over Bam Bam Rodriguez over there, is he? So, Sonny Edwards, it's funny because he's kind of afflicted by a similar type of thing, what happened to Okoli and Buatsi. And everybody criticised those two guys, didn't they? You know, when they sign that first deal with a new promoter and they start talking, right, this is the dawn of a new era, you watch now, blah, blah, blah. You get in there and then you stink the place out. I mean, Sonny Edwards himself said that the fight was boring. He actually said that about his own fight. Yeah. So that was the same thing that happened with Okoli when he had that fight with Boxer. Same thing with Buatsi. And it was less than impressive last night. And it's not the type of fight that's going to showcase him well further afield in America and places like that, either.
Yeah, I have to agree.
It wasn't a good night for him, man. And he did all that talking before. You heard the interview, molded in violence and all this lot, and ripping man's hat off his head and telling him, shut the fuck up and acting all aggressive. But where was that aggression on fight night? You know what I mean? It was a very lackluster performance, apparently. Listen, we all know he's very skilled, and I actually do like watching him box. But I think he's going to need to seriously reevaluate and, you know what I mean, maybe make some adjustments and alterations to his style if he's going to kick on. But like I said, he's got to find some power from somewhere.
I think that's why he's a bit of a personality outside of the ring, particularly on Twitter, because that sort of thing will help. But yeah, in the ring, like he's already had this started for being like very small. The smaller fighters don't get the same sort of attention as the bigger fighters do. And if you're not knocking them out either, then like how am I supposed to convince my casual friends to watch it? You know what I mean? They're gonna look at that as a sideshow, and that's no disrespect because obviously I rate them as well. But
it's right. Everything you said is right. You know what I mean? That's why, let's be honest, man. That's why a lot of the casuals watch boxing. They watch boxing for knockouts, or if not knockouts, they will like something like what Teofimo. He put on a clinic yesterday. He landed some, really good shots on Taylor, had him hurt a couple of times. They will countenance stuff like that. What they don't want to watch is two little guys darting around the ring, flicking out jabs, avoiding getting hit. People like me and you can appreciate the skill sets of that. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But will it sell to the wider public? Hell no, it won't. They'll just say, oh, this is boring. And then, like I said, Sonny Edwards does a lot of talking. And when you do a lot of talking, man, there's an obligation on you to back that up in the ring. And last night, yes, he won comfortably. But did he impress? No, he didn't.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, that'll wrap it up for tonight, man. Want to give you, first of all, thanks for joining. A bit of short notice, but we joined on Sunday, a bit later on in the evening today. We got the show coming up next week as well. The podcast, we'll look forward to that. Probably be on Thursday. No, I didn't watch that fight.
I watched the highlights of that. He was really tested in that fight, man. I mean, he did win it in the end. I mean, he dropped Deryevchenko in the last round with a body shot. And to all intents and purposes, it would appear that he needed a big last round to win that fight. There's a lot of people.
I'll be honest, I'm not really too interested in Munguia at the moment, man. Until I'll be honest, because I just want to. I'm tired. Deryevchenko was a bit of a step up, but we know he's a bit over the hill now anyway. But until I see him in there of a prominent opponent, then I just can't really. That's why I didn't even bother talk about him tonight. I spoke about AB before Munguia.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah.
And then the other news, of course, was your boy Canelo, man. I don't know what's going on.
We'll touch on that during the week about Canelo. And, we'll touch on that during the week.
I've got some thoughts on that, mate. And, a lot of these guys who are having a pop at me, man, about Canelo, maybe they need to tune in and listen to that because I've got some very strong opinions on that. And so I can't wait to let that one go, man. Because boy,
maybe we might get a bit more updates by then. But until then,
with Josh Taylor, I mean, just to go back to him, I'm really curious as to what his next move is going to be. I mean, some people were suggesting that he should retire. I'm not one of those. When I say that, I mean, listen, if he wants to retire, he won't retire. Josh Taylor is, as I said before, he's a very alpha male type of character. He will no doubt attribute much of the loss to the weight. And he won't believe he's done. You know what I mean? But it has to be said, man, back-to-back poor performances, back-to-back losses, in my opinion. Yes, he got his hand raised against Castro, but anyone who saw that fight, we all saw what happened. He did not win that fight. At the absolute most, he could have got a draw, but he didn't, innit? And he got beat up in that fight. He got dropped twice, once legitimately. Looked poor. And then going into this fight, he said, look, I've got a new trainer. It was down to the weight. So he addressed all those things. And then he goes in there last night and he gets absolutely schooled. So, you know what they say in boxing, man? You're only as good as your last fight. Now, he's had 2 poor performances. So I'm really interested to see where he goes from here.
Yeah, let's see what happens. He did put out a note on his social media, just saying no excuses, apologizing for the loss, and he'll be back. So let's see. But anyway, we'll be back during the week. And shout out to all you guys, man, and have a good rest of the evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we'll see you guys next week on the podcast, man. Peace out. You can't end it, I don't think. Definitely an issue with the Wi-Fi.